Hey guys, welcome. I'm gonna move this dirty palette out of the way because that looks like a sweater mishap waiting to happen. Here's my thought for today. On my other Instagram account, I have two now, by the way. If you want to follow my other one, I'd love that. I think that'd be a really fun time. I started another Instagram account for a few reasons, but I'm trying to use it to create more things that I want to create, practice photography, all that kind of good shit. All of that will be in the bio. On my original Instagram, I posted a story at one point that was basically showing like photos from my Instagram and then like what was actually happening at the time. The reason that I posted that was because I've obviously been doing social media for a very long time. I think it's been about 6 years or so that this has been my full-time job. And I know quite a bit about like the ins and outs of doing social media as a career. And I still find myself looking at other people's pages being like, wow, they must never fight with their husband, and like they just look like they're like the best friends, and like, wow, this vacation looks so glamorous. Like I always look at other people's account thinking like that they're so unattainable and they're so perfect and their lives look like incredible and stuff like that, even though I know that that's not true all the time. Like, you know, like we all have normal lives typically. I mean, there's always like James Charles, who's like a teenager and millionaire, and that's kind of a different situation than the rest of us, but that's a different video, okay? I thought I would take you on a trip down memory lane so that we can go through some photos from my Instagram. I'll show you the photo approximately here on the screen, or maybe on this side, I don't know. And then I'll tell you what was actually going on. Let's do this. I'm gonna scroll back to the beginning of time. I'm gonna try and include some good memories too, rather than just like all the depressing shit happening in my life. Oh wow, okay. So let me start off by saying, here's my first ever Instagram post. This was in 2013. Wow. Boy, oh boy. The first thing we need to know, the only reason I got Instagram is because I had just gone through a breakup and I wanted to be stunting on Instagram because I knew that that boyfriend had Instagram and he'd probably be looking up my page, and a career was formed out of it. This was a spiteful Instagram creation. Oh, here's one. Okay, so this photo, I actually like really liked this photo of myself for a super long time. I was at a convention of sorts, and this was this the trip? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Okay, so I was at a convention when this photo was taken, and I was down there with, I feel sick already just talking about it. I was down there with an ex of mine. He wasn't an ex at the time. And I'm pretty sure it was actually the same day, which hilariously enough, this was taken on August 2nd, and I got married to Matt on August 3rd. Anyways, I was down there. I was sharing a hotel room with his boyfriend at the time, and he was, how can I put this lightly? The worst. And so I would go through his Skype all the time because he was always Skyping other bitches. Okay? So I had been going through his Skype when he was out of the hotel room because I knew that he had intentions of meeting up with this girl, like, on the low while we were there. And I went to go click on that conversation, and I ended up like clicking on this conversation with this other person that like I had literally no concerns about. Like I was like, this is like a complete non-issue, but clicked on that. And the first message I saw was, I miss having sex with you. And I was like, oh, that's a thing that's going on. Okay, good to know. And then I scrolled back and realized that my boyfriend had been sleeping with this person for years, actually, but several months minimum whilst we were dating. That's what was going on shortly after this photo was taken. And then the person that he was sleeping with, I had to stay at her house for another week and a half after I found that out. So that was a really fun time in my life, and I just wish I could go back to it. Ooh, the pop art zombie. So this makeup look is what like literally basically launched my Instagram career. I posted this in 2013, and at the time I had like about 10,000 followers, and I posted this, and like this makeup was redone so much that year. Like there was a few like other influencers that redid that makeup over the Halloween season kind of thing. There was like a bunch of just like of my followers that did it. And then what ended up happening was this photo was taken and used as an album art cover by Lil' Kim. It was such a bizarre experience because like I was obviously like this big. I don't know, it was just so odd. It was so odd. So a follower of mine had commented on that page and or on that photo, and she was like, Lil' Kim is using this as album art. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I was like, is this like a bot or something? Like what is this? Sure shit, Lil' Kim was using it as album art. And so I posted to Reddit about it. And I was like, what do Reddit? Because that's what you do when you're a child and you don't realize that Reddit actually can't answer your questions. This got to the front page of Reddit, this photo and this like whole issue with the Lil' Kim thing. A lawyer reached out to me from California that does intellectual property law, and we began the process of suing Lil' Kim. And I remember at the time I was like talking to my parents about it, and I was like, guys, Lil' Kim is like using my photo as album art. And they were like, okay. And I was like, I think I'm gonna sue her. This like lawyer contacted me and they were like, okay. They were like so like, what? But anyways, yeah, went and met up with this lawyer. We could not track down Lil' Kim. I was sent like death threats by fans of hers for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Ended up suing an app in the process. We never ended up getting to Lil' Kim because it ended up being a situation where like she owed a bunch of money to the IRS. It was a whole thing, okay? So it didn't end up going through. We didn't settle, nothing happened. It was just like, this is like, whatever, like nothing's gonna come of this. But this look was what kind of became a really big deal for me at the time. And I don't like to accredit my success to Lil' Kim because I don't feel that that is correlated, but this look was like what it was. And now a variation of this is a Fortnite character, and it's also a Spirit Halloween makeup kit. None of which I'm receiving royalties for, but that's okay. That's art. Oh, wow. This photo was my first time meeting Anastasia Beverly Hills. This was December 2013. So I was running a blog with a friend of mine at the time. We had been talking about Anastasia, and I had said that it was like a goal of ours to like meet her. And so Anastasia had commented on a photo of mine at the time. She had like 500,000 followers. This is like way back when, okay? She had commented on a photo and she was like, let me know when you're in town next, we'll grab lunch. Like, or she said like, I'd love to work with you, or like, we'll grab lunch or something like that. So I immediately messaged the Anastasia like PR, I guess, or something. I don't know how I ended up contacting them, but I messaged them somehow and I was like, hey, like I'm planning on coming down to LA this day, blah, blah, blah. And like I was wondering if Anastasia could get together for lunch. Claudia, Norvina, messaged me back and she was like, yeah, for sure, no problem, like sounds great, blah, blah, blah. We set up a time. I booked a flight. I was like, I'm going down there. I was so fucking broke at the time, but I was like, I'm making it happen. So booked a flight. My mom bought me a dress to wear. And then Norvina messaged me and she was like, hey, sorry, like lunch actually won't work, but would you like to come to like a dinner at Anastasia's house? And I was like, I'll think about it. I don't know. I was like, fucking yes, I'll bring my sleeping bag and I'm gonna move in as well. I was like shitting my pants. My friend and I went to this dinner at her house. There was like a bunch of like influencers that are like massive influencers now, and at the time they were like massive as well, but they were massive for what was massive at the time. You know what I mean? Anyways, met a bunch of influencers, met Anastasia, met Norvina that night. It was like mind-boggling how this just like all came together. That night we didn't get the chance to really like talk to Anastasia that much, so I had messaged Norvina. I was like, hey, like, you know, like I'd love to meet up with you guys, like come to the office and like just chat a little bit more, blah blah blah, whatever. And she was like, yeah, we'll come into the office tomorrow. We went in and sat down with Norvina in her office, and she was just like, so what do you guys want? And I was like, excuse me? And she was like what do you like, why are you here? Like people don't like do this, like they're not messaging us being like, hey, want to go for lunch, so like what do you want from me? And I was like, I want to work with you guys. And she was like, okay. And then she put me and my friend on their PR list. And that was how we started like a conversation. I did photos for them that ended up being on like a Sephora display or stuff like that. We were in this meeting, like just talking to Norvina. And then at one point, like there was like a knock on the door and Anastasia came in, like a glowing angel. And Dip Brow had just launched at the time. And she was like, do you guys have Dip Brow? Because they'd given us like a little bag of like goodies. And we were like, oh no. And she pointed to someone and she was like, get them Dip Brow. And then she like pulled like an employee and she was like, let me show you how to use it. Like, I want to show you guys how to like use this properly. And then she showed us like how Dip Brow was like meant to be used basically. And it was just so cool watching her do this, because the first day of my makeup school, they talked about Anastasia and how she was like the queen of brows and all this kind of stuff. And I forgot about it until like that moment, and I was sitting there and I was like, holy fuck, this is the Anastasia we were talking about. And like, I'm just sitting here like a foot from her face watching her do brows. Like, it was just such a cool experience. So anyways, that was my first time meeting Anastasia. This photo was the most horrifying thing for me to post. I can't begin to describe to you how insecure I've been my entire life without wearing makeup. Like this, what I'm doing right now, cold day in hell. Like when I was in high school, if I was having a sleepover with my friends, like my girlfriends, I would sleep with a full face of makeup on. And not like I would have foundation and like brows on. Like I would sleep with like lashes on, liner, eyeshadow, lipstick. Like I would touch up my makeup to go to bed with a full face of makeup because I was so fucking insecure of my face without makeup. My first day of makeup school, everyone had to wash their face off and then go sit in the front of the class. This was kind of fucked up that they made us do this, to be honest, looking back. But we had to like wash all our makeup off and then go sit down in the front of the class, and every person took turns being up at front. And then we would say like what eye shape they had, what face shape, like all that kind of shit. I washed my face off, but I left my brows on because that was something I was so insecure about. And when I was in high school especially, I plucked the shit out of my brows as like a stress thing. So they were literally like a thin little fucking line. And I had my brows on. I left my brows on. And I sat down in this thing and my teacher was like, babe, you gotta take your brows off. And I was like, fucking kidding me? Did you just clock me from my brows? Like, I don't know why I thought that she wouldn't notice that I had like these like dark like penciled brows on. But that was like the worst. My hands were literally shaking taking off my brows because I was so fucking embarrassed to be seen without makeup. So when I started posting to Instagram, I would start getting a lot of comments of people being like, oh, like, I wish I looked like you. And I hated seeing comments like that because I understand that it was like meant to be a compliment and that like it's really like probably not that deep for them. But like, it bothered me because I was like, you don't even understand what I look like. Like, this is not me. This is not what I look like. So I posted this before and after, and I was literally like, my hands were shaking, my heart was racing posting it. It was like horrifying to me. I posted this photo and the response I got was like so fantastic. It made me feel so good and like so proud. This was 2013 and this has 2,400 comments. That's like insane to me. I felt so proud of myself for doing that, and that was like a really, really big step for me because I never thought that I would like ever show my bare face online, let alone like do like makeup videos and shit like this with like no makeup on. Fuck that noise. But I posted this and then somebody posted it to like a men's humor page on Facebook, and it was something like this is why you take a girl swimming on the first date or whatever. And I was like livid. Like that. I was so mad that something that I did for me and for my community was taken so out of context and applied as if it had anything to do with like appeasing men. Like I was so livid. That photo still makes me mad because of that. Like it's just such a like a weird like mixed feeling. Fuck man, I was a way better makeup artist back in the day. Let me scroll up to like where we're like moving on with our life a little bit here. Oh, meeting Rose Shark, friend. This was a makeup artist that I just like idolized during makeup school. Like I would try to like replicate his work all the time because I just thought he was so phenomenal. He was like so inspiring to me. And I met him for the first time in 2014. He was at this, where were we? Oh, Fame Expo. It was like a like makeup expo down in LA. And I was about to leave and I turned around and I saw him and I was like with my friends and I was like, that's Roshar. And they were like, oh, go say hi. And I was like, no. And they were like, just go say hi. And I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't expecting to meet him. And I was like, and I walked up and I was just like, I love you so much. I love it. Like I was just like sobbing and he was like, this is why I do what I do. And I was like, fuck. And then I ended up meeting him again, just like a couple years ago in fucking Indonesia. And I got to watch him do makeup, and it was like the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. I've reposted this so many times, but this is like my favorite makeup and like photo of makeup like I had ever done. I don't know why, I just really, really liked it a lot. Oh yeah, this was a throwback that I posted, so this was actually like a little while before, but this was my first time going to New York, and I was there with Tarte Cosmetics, and they made the trip like so incredible. Like it was such a fun time. Like I had so like just such a great time. Like it was a really fantastic experience. There was this one night in like one of the last nights that I was there, and I was like laying in bed and I was just like, man, this is the worst to experience alone. Like I just felt like my career was growing so much. Like I was starting to like actually make money. I was traveling a ton at that time. I was getting work, like my account was growing, like all this kind of stuff. And I was like, this is the worst. Like I don't have anyone to call to talk to about this, because like I moved away from my hometown to Vancouver like right after high school, so I wasn't really close with people that I had been to high school with at that time. I didn't have a partner. It was just, I don't know, like I just felt like so alone, and I was like, this just, like I was so grateful, but at the same time, like it was like very like bittersweet, because I was just like, I don't want to like do this alone, you know what I mean? And it became like really important to me at that time to like help people like where I could, like try to help people grow in their career and different stuff like that, because I just wanted other people to like get the chance to experience it and not be alone in that experience, if that makes sense. When did I break up with that motherfucker? Oh yeah, here, okay. So this photo, so I had broken up with my boyfriend 2 days before this photo was taken, and this photo was taken in Toronto, and I had to fly the day after we broke up to Toronto. He was supposed to be there with me, and it was just super awkward and uncomfortable, because like the brand that I was there with was like, oh, where's like this guy? And I was like, we broke up, okay? Like it was just a weird experience, and like I had to go do a meet and greet. It was so odd, because like meet and greets are such a surreal experience, because like it's so cool to like meet people that you interact with online and stuff like that in person, but at the same time it's sort of like you're meeting these people so rapidly and you're trying to live up to these expectations, but you don't even know what that expectation is, because like everybody follows people for different reasons. You know what I mean? Like the reason that you follow me might be a completely different reason like from why someone else follows me, and vice versa. I follow different people for different reasons because they fill different like cups for me, you know? So it's sort of like you're like so rapidly trying to like fulfill people's expectations and like make it a good experience for them with like such a short amount of time. And it was so odd. That was like one of the first times like I felt this really like real separation between like me as like a business and me as like myself, because I was like, me as myself needs to be like shelved, because like I'm going through a breakup and I'm like, you know, like having like a bunch of like emotions over here, and then like me as a business is like trying to present as like how these people would want me to present, you know what I mean? Like it was just such a weird moment. Oh, this photo, I met up with a couple like subscribers like literally randomly like that day. I was like, hey, who's going to be in Disneyland? Do you guys want to meet up and hang out? And I met up with a few subscribers in Disneyland, and this one ended up being a roommate of mine later in life. Oh damn, I look fucking dope as hell. This photo was taken in New York, and I was in New York that time with my mom, and that was such a fun experience. Like it was such a good trip. I was just like, yeah, it was awesome. Okay, I posted about this photo the other day. This photo is like one of my favorite photos of myself. It was taken like almost 4 years ago, but it still remains like one of my favorites, because I was like really in like the thick of my career at this point, and like I was so fucking self-conscious, bro. You don't even understand. I felt like I had to like edit myself so much and like really plan out like how I was going to do my hair, how I was going to do my makeup, what I was going to wear, like all that kind of shit. And going to events was like horrifying to me, because I always felt like so much just like so less than in comparison to all these other influencers. And I felt like I didn't like fit in, and like same old sob story, right? But I had been following this person, and a friend of mine as well had kind of shown her to me. Her name's Ruby James. She's a photographer out of Seattle. And we contacted her and we were like, hey, like we'd love to come down and do photos. We went down there and we did photos, and it was like, I just felt so like proud of like my outward appearance for the first time in like an incredibly long time, because we were taking these photos throughout the day, and I always kind of would like get discouraged when I would take photos, because I would look at them and be like, fuck, like that's what I look like. Okay, cool. That's going to take a lot of editing. It was to the point where like, I remember saying to a friend of mine, I had said this a couple times actually throughout my life, but I remember saying to a friend of mine at one point, they were like, oh, do you want to see these photos? They were like taking photos from my Instagram. I was like, they said, do you want to see these photos before we like stop taking pictures? And I was like, honestly, as long as I'm in the photo, that's all that matters, because I knew that I was going to edit the fuck out of it anyway. So it like ultimately, like I just needed a shape that was going to like represent me kind of thing. And we took these photos in Seattle, and like I looked at them on the camera and I was like, just like astounded, like having to like remind myself that like that was just a raw image, like that wasn't edited, there was nothing changed about like that. It was me, and I was so, I don't know, like I just felt so like outwardly beautiful for the first time in a really, really long time, and it really kind of changed the way that I like viewed my body as well, because I was super self-conscious of my body. I've always felt like I, you know, like all my weight goes to my stomach and here. Thankfully, it's a great time. And I don't know, I just always felt so self-conscious about it. And then I looked at these photos and I was like, who fucking cares, man? I look fucking really dope, to be honest. It changed. It started a change in how I was viewing myself. And it really led to me wanting to be different in how I was presenting myself online. So that kind of kickstarted that for me. Oh my God. Okay, so I was in Paris, and not Paris. Oh yeah, that was in fucking Paris. Okay, we had been in the south of France for a film festival, and literally during the film, I was like, my eye is oozing. And I just contracted the worst eye infection I've ever experienced in my life. It was so bad, dude. It was so bad. Like my eye was literally like it was disgusting. We were supposed to fly to Paris the next day and do like a photo shoot with this other brand. We were kind of like in tandem between two different brands while we were there. And I had like this horrific eye infection, so I wasn't supposed to put makeup on. So I took this photo with my fucking glasses on because I wasn't allowed to wear eye makeup. And I was like messaging with this like one PR girl. I was like, hey man, like I'm so sorry. I wasn't being paid to be there. This was just like kind of like, you know, like you work because you're on the trip sort of thing. But I messaged this girl and I was like, hey, like I have like this eye infection. My eye's like fucked right up. Like I can come to like whatever, but like I can't like wear eye makeup. So like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do these photos. And they were like, it's fine, like just show up. So I took literally every photo for this brand wearing sunglasses. And like there were some photos where I was like indoors wearing sunglasses because like there was no other choice. And that trip was such a weird time too, because like during like one of those photo shoots, they had told us to bring our own clothes. So I brought like the clothes that like I would want to be photographed in, you know what I mean? And they pulled me aside and they were like, do you have anything else to wear? And I was like, not really. Like I showed them the clothes that I brought, and they went out and bought clothes for me only and like dressed me only. And I was there with like a few other influencers, and I was just like so embarrassed because like the girls that I was there with, I just felt like such like a small fry in comparison, and I felt like not like nearly as beautiful as these women that I was with and all that kind of shit. And like it was like embarrassing to me to be like, oh, like this brand has to like fucking dress me because apparently like the way that I dress myself isn't like good enough. And that's been kind of like a theme throughout my career that I've really struggled with, because at the end of the day, I'm not actually a model. You know what I mean? So like I'm not there to really, you know, like wear your product. Do you know what I mean? Like I am the product. Like it's me as like an influencer, like that's who you're hiring, or like getting to do this work for free or whatever. And so I've really struggled with this throughout my career, because people like want me to dress differently, they want me to talk differently, they want me to act differently. And I've always just been like, but why? Because you're hiring me because I'm this person, and like this is why, you know, people follow me versus why they might follow this person for other reasons, kind of thing. But like people are following me because like this is who I am, like this is my image, this is how I talk, this is how I act, whatever kind of thing. And it's been a really weird kind of struggle throughout my entire career of wanting to be presented how I want to present myself, and trying to somehow mesh that with the way that brands want to present me, and really fighting for the fact that like I do stand by me as a brand. You know what I mean? Like this is how I want to be presented. So it's always an argument. Like there's been a lot of ads that I've had to like sit back and go like back and forth with brands on, and be like, I'm not saying that like that, I'm not doing that, I'm not taking a picture like that, I'm not gonna like hold this in the image, whatever, shit like that. And it's just yeah, it's been a weird time with that kind of stuff. Okay, this image, oh, Jacqueline Hill commented on it, wow. This image was taken very shortly, like a few days after I moved into the first apartment that I got completely on my own. I had lived with like boyfriends since I got out of high school, kind of thing, or like a roommate or whatever. And this apartment was like just completely my own. It was the best experience of my life. Like I loved living by myself. I was so proud of that place. I really felt so content in a way that I hadn't felt in a long time, because like my career started and it was like such a high. Like I was like, oh my God, like this is so much fun. It was like so incredible, like experiencing all these things I never thought I'd get to experience. And then it was sort of like, oh, like I don't have anyone to share this with. And I was seeing like the negative sides of the industry and being treated poorly in some ways, and just different shit like that. Like just, you know, things, the novelty wears off, and like you're kind of left with what's actually left there, and sometimes that's not very pretty. And I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like I didn't feel like I was or had what everyone was looking at me thinking I was or had. You know what I mean? Like other people, like and friends and stuff like that, would be like, why are you happy? Like, you know, like you have this and that, and you're doing so well, and you're blah blah blah. And like, and I was like, no, like I don't feel that in any way. Like I don't feel like I've achieved anything. I don't feel like I'm anyone, you know, or like I have anything that's making me feel like whole. And that apartment was just something that made me feel so content, because I just felt like this is me. Like I have only me to thank for this. You know what I mean? Kind of like, obviously people help you get to where you are, blah, blah, blah. But like, it wasn't something that I had to do with a partner. I could do it on my own. And it just, I don't know. I really I needed that in my life at that point, and I was super proud of myself. Oh, fuck. Okay, so this photo, I was in London. I had, talking about being able to afford an apartment, and then it went like very downhill. My income has always been very inconsistent. I made the dumb, poor decision of conducting myself with some amount of morals when I went into this industry. Why did I do that? Because I make significantly less money for that. So it was hard, because like I would be needing money, but like I wouldn't be willing to take the ads that were coming my way at that time, and I didn't have a manager. And so there was times where like I'd be making really, really good money and I was doing great and whatever. But the other thing as well is that brands are so fucking inconsistent with how they pay you. And especially because I was in Canada, for some reason that made it like significantly more difficult for brands to pay me. So there were times where I wouldn't get paid for like 3 months, 4 months, 7 months. Right now I'm waiting on a check from almost a year ago. I just was kind of having to like spend money and pay my bills based on the confidence of what was going to be coming in eventually. So anyways, I had $18 in my bank account at this point. And this was, you know, at a time where like people really looked at me and thought that I was a lot more successful than I was. Like I remember reading threads about myself of people being like, she tries to pretend that she's not fucking rich, but she's rich. Not for long, bitch. Like it was just like so haphazard. And like my mom had to deposit money into my bank account while I was on that trip because I was running out of money. Oh, this is me and Matt had been dating for 17 days, and we went to Japan together, and we fought the whole time. But it looks cute here, so that's something. Oh boy, revenge lingerie. It always comes to this. So this photo, this was a very difficult week. I had just launched a lipstick collab that I had done with MAC. It was a moment that I was like very proud of. A lot of like the people closest to me like came out for it. Like I had family, Alyssa came out for it. She wasn't living in Vancouver at the time. And I was so proud of myself. It was such a good experience. And like it really felt like my whole world was like coming full circle, because MAC was really the first brand that like made me fall in love with makeup. And Matt and I like broke up for a little bit like immediately after that. So it was just such a weird experience, and like we were just having such a hard time. Like we were so rocky when we first started dating. Like it was just unreal. Like we would like fight like cats and dogs, scream in each other's faces. Like it was so bad, and it was relentless. Like just day after day after day. Like we were constantly at each other's throats. Anyways, I took this as revenge lingerie photo whilst we were broken up, because that's what you do. And then he came crawling back. And it was even harder. Like somehow our relationship got even harder once he came back. Like it was, that was a time. And it's pretty incredible actually that we got through it. Okay, so this photo, we had just recently moved into the house. So Matt and I bought a house together. How did this all happen within the first year of dating? I just don't know. Matt and I had bought a house together, and it was something that happened kind of like, it wasn't expected. We weren't planning to buy a house. It wasn't like a thing that we were like working towards even. Like I had every intention of staying in that dope ass apartment for a long time, but we ended up buying this house, and I was just like not ready to leave downtown. I was like heartbroken leaving that apartment. Like that apartment meant so much to me. It sounds so weird, but like it meant so much to me. I just wasn't ready to leave it. And so I had a really, really hard time when we first moved into the house for like a year. I was literally miserable every single day because I just felt so, I don't know. It was just like a transition I wasn't willing to be in, and like I wasn't ready to be in. So it was hard going through that, but still having to like obviously like produce content and continue working and just like living my life as you do. But like it was just, I don't know, it was a weird time. This was taken on our second trip to Japan together, Matt and I. And that trip was like incredible. Like it was everything that the first trip wasn't. We had such a fun time. It was so great, like so many good memories and stuff like that. And towards the end of the trip, I was saying to Matt, I was like, I'm like ready to go home. Like I'm excited to get back to work and whatever. And I don't know what happened, but I got home and like I fell into like the worst depression I had ever experienced in my life up until that point, because I've been dealing with depression for like years and years, and it wasn't anything new to me at that point, but this was just so different, and I'm not sure why, but that was like relentless for months and months and months. Like that was in January, and in this photo, it's the end of March, and I remember this was in Vietnam, and I remember still just being so like out of sorts while I was on that trip, and just feeling like I was never going to come out of like this, what I was feeling, you know what I mean? It was a really hard time and it just kind of went on and on and on. This was the day Matt proposed. It was a really good weekend. We had a bunch of friends with us, but we also fought the night before we got engaged. So a lot of me and Matt fighting, and we're better now, but that was a thing. And it was weird because like after I got engaged, I was like not expecting this, but I was definitely on like a little bit of a high. Like I felt really like happy and like excited and like hopeful kind of thing. And that came just crashing down. It was so odd. Like it was just, I just could not seem to get out of this feeling that I was in. And I think it was that winter that I ended up finally getting like a therapist and starting to do that. And that was like the best decision I'd ever made. Okay, this photo was, wow, this was this year. Wow, that could make me cry. Okay, this photo was taken on January 2nd and posted on January 2nd. And this was the day that I decided I was not going to edit my body anymore. It's so sad to me because I look back at this photo and I don't feel like I needed to, but I remember being like, fuck, like this is like the worst decision right now because like all I want to do is edit this photo. And it's sad to me as well, just thinking about the fact that like from that photo that I showed you, that was like one of my favorite photos of myself until this photo, that was 4 years. So from that time where I actually started to feel better about myself until here, there was still 4 more years of editing my body. So that's pretty fucking sad for me. The reason I stopped that was actually because I had a conversation with Alyssa. So Alyssa moved in September. Was it in September, Alyssa, or August? I can't remember. She'd moved in and we had a conversation about how we look back at photos of ourselves and we are like, oh, like I wish I had that body still. And we're not like remembering the fact that that body was edited. And I do that all the fucking time. Like I used to do that so much. I would look at photos and be like, fuck, like what happened to that body? Never had it. Never had that body. And I was just sick of it. Like I didn't want to like think that all the time of my body and not like what I had now, even though I didn't have what I had in that picture anyways. It was a really hard adjustment for me, even though that might sound silly. It was a hard adjustment. Honestly, it was hard getting some of the comments that were like well-intentioned during this time because I didn't want to be someone who, it's so hard to explain. It's like people looking at me as like being a role model just for like presenting in my normal body bothered me a lot because I understood that it was well-intentioned, but at the same time, I didn't like people thinking like, wow, like you're so brave to post photos looking like that, you know? Like I just was like, why? Like why is this brave? Like why is my body not good enough? I could cry. Like I didn't want people to think I was brave. I wanted people to look at the photo and still continue to react to the photo they would to any of the photos that I had posted in the past, because like all of those photos were so edited and people would comment and be like, wow, you look beautiful, you look great, blah, blah, blah. And then when I started posting my like real body and like later in the year, like stopped editing my skin and my acne and stuff like that, and people would comment all the time things like, you know, like, wow, like I respect you so much for posting this, and like this really makes me feel so much better about my body. And like someone commented on this photo in particular and they said something about like, I can't believe you're like so confident, trying to be nice, like I can't believe you're so confident wearing bathing suits like that when you have like the boobs that you do. And I was like, oh. And I look back at this photo now and like literally all I see is like my boobs, and I'm like, should I not be wearing bathing suits like this? Like, is this something that like people look at me and think like, ooh, like what, like why don't you make a that bathing suit? So it was such a weird time because like those comments don't bother me as much now, and like I do try really hard to understand like that people are coming from a good place, but I think it was just hard because as much as that first photo where I said that I wasn't going to edit my body anymore was meant to be like a statement, and not that I thought I looked shitty in that photo, but just like I was calling it out. Like I was like, this is a thing now for me. And so when people were commenting on that photo, it didn't bother me as much. But the photos I was posting after that, it wasn't meant to be a statement. It wasn't meant to be something that I was doing where I was like, yeah, I'm posting this, like, take me as I am, world. Like, it was photos that I was posting because I thought I looked fucking cool. And it was something where people were commenting on those photos being like, wow, wish I had that confidence. And I was like, cool. Oh, fuck. This photo, I still hate looking at. This was in March. This was the day before my birthday, actually. And oh my God, like I just looked in the mirror, again, I could cry. I looked in the mirror that day and I was like, I am not gonna cry. I was just like, holy fuck, like I am so fucking ugly. Like, I just felt such a piece of shit. Like, I felt so bad about my skin. Ugh, goodness gracious. Get it together. Ugh. I felt so bad about my skin and so embarrassed, and I was just like, when the fuck will this end? Like, when will this end? Like, have I not paid my dues? Have I not timed in enough here? Like, Jesus Christ. So, like, let it go, acne, okay? Like, let me fucking move on with my life. I felt so shitty looking in the mirror and so embarrassed, and I decided that because I felt that way, that's why I wanted to post this picture. And I still fucking hate this picture, and I still think I look like shit, and I still remember how much I felt like shit that morning. But I don't know, I just don't like that people look at social media and feel the way that I felt that morning, and are constantly comparing themselves to other people and constantly looking at other people thinking that, like, they have it so together and, like, there's nothing wrong with their life and stuff. Because, like, when you look at other photos, like, even this one, I didn't edit my skin in, but my skin was substantially better than it did without makeup, obviously. I don't know. I felt like it was important to post, even though I literally could die looking at this photo, because I'm just like, why did I ever put this out here? 16-year-old me would set myself aflame. Like, she'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Let's maybe try and end on a positive note. Okay, my wedding. This is where I'm gonna end this. This was my wedding day with Matt. I loved my wedding for so many reasons. Obviously, everyone says this, but it was really, like, so hard for me and Matt to get there, and for us to build on our relationship the way that we did and come so far, because we really have. Like, it's not been roses, let me tell you. So we worked so hard on our relationship. We spent a lot of time in, like, couples counseling and going to counseling ourselves and, like, spending time, like, you know, just really, like, building together. And so I was so proud of, like, us for that in that moment. The past couple of years for me mentally have been really stressful, really hard. I've been really, really struggling with depression. Like, I don't know why. It's just, like, persisted so fucking hard ever since we got back from that Japan trip. I don't know, like, it was just such a good day, and, like, it just made me feel so much more hopeful for the future. It was a day that I stressed about a lot, and I was really worried that things weren't gonna, like, turn out how I wanted them to. And then the day of, we were, like, setting everything up, because I planned it on my own. Like, I didn't have a planner, and so I was just, like, doing it with, like, friends and family and stuff. And the morning of, me, my mom, my grandma, and my aunt were, like, weaving flowers and leaves into, like, these table decorations we were doing. And I just felt, like, so, I don't know, like, just so happy. It was such a cool experience to, like, have all these people, like, coming together for, like, just, like, us, like, me and Matt. And it was just such a fantastic day. It was such a great day. So I didn't share a lot about my wedding online, and even that said, I shared more than I was intending to. And the reason I didn't want to is because I feel like the thing that's really hard about social media is that it can be so fantastic. It can connect you with so many people and make you feel so empowered and so happy and so creative and all these things. And it can also really tarnish, like, super precious moments. And so I didn't want my wedding to be that. And I was at a time thinking about not posting any wedding photos at all, because I just didn't want people to, like, take that moment away from me. And even, like, that photo, I thought that photo was, like, so cute and, like, so precious and, like, felt like more candid kind of thing. And I didn't even remember that photo being taken, but, like, obviously the person who took the photo would have been directly in front of us. And someone on Reddit was like, why would she post a photo with hair in front of her face? And I was just like, this is exactly, like, the kind of shit that is just like, this person can't look at this photo and be like, congrats, like, she looks happy. She's like, why would she post this photo? And I was like, wow, this is, like, a perfect example of why I didn't want to post about this. But luckily, that day was so special and so great for so many reasons that nothing anyone said to me has stuck, I guess, except for that comment. Nothing anyone has said about it has, like, stuck for me, and it hasn't, like, tarnished it for me at all, because I'm just like, you weren't there, it was the best, and suck it. There you have it, folks. That's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this little walk down memory lane. This is probably going to be an exceedingly long video, but I think it's important for you guys to know the behind the scenes, the good, the bad, the not even close to bad because it's so far off the scale that it's like horrific. I think it's a good thing for you to know. That's it. Go follow my new Instagram if you feel like it, but you don't have to. I don't want you to feel pressured. Okay? I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.